It's been such a blessing we ended up with her. She's a perfect make, a perfect model for us. Welcome to the Blue Top Podcast. We are Sofia and Ariana Jewelewicz, twin sisters and co-founders of Blue Top Legend, Blue Top Yachting, and Blue Top Performance. This is where we dive into all things yachting, maritime marketing, and running a business on and off of the water. From insider tips to stories that inspire, we're here to help you navigate success. Today's episode is all about quick fire questions. No deep dives, no long explanations, just answers to some of the most common things that people ask us about boating, blue top, and life in the water. We both know that we are going to probably be expanding on these questions. We most likely will be diving a little bit deep. These are our most common asks. Let's get right into it. Ariana, what is your favorite boat that you have ever been on? I think that it's wrong to say anything other than Blue Top. I don't know if I could have a preference between either of our Blue Tops. I absolutely loved the original because it taught us so much. We've gone over and over about that on different episodes, whether it be the engine quitting on us or the steering not working or almost dying going 90 degrees in the ocean. We made so many incredible adrenaline junkie memories on that boat. This new one has also allowed us to be a little bit safer and do a lot more with water sports. We've been able to go tubing, we've been able to attempt wakeboarding. It's allowed us to expand in the boating world and do a little bit more. I absolutely love both of them. The new boat definitely has more room, which is nice because now we could bring some of our friends. We can all go bridge jumping. We can all sit at the lake together. I really love both of them. I 100% agree with you. It would be wrong to say anything that is not blue top. Mine was definitely our 16-foot Dauntless, the one that we have right now. To be able to bring our close friends and have a good time and be able to raft up to any boat, go in the ocean when we want, do water sports, like you said. This boat is the perfect boat for everything that we need to do. Other people might need a bigger boat to bring more people or to go fishing, but we don't fish. We don't bring a lot of people on our boat. This boat is the epitome of flawless for us. It's a really good size because people always think that bigger is better with boats. Obviously, to a certain extent, not everyone wants some massive yacht, but people do like the larger Intrepids or the larger whalers. I really like the 16-foot size. I think that it can fit a good amount of people. We're never going to be the type to bring 15 people out on the boat. It's usually our two friends, if that, or just us. It's a really good size and it's not too small like the 13 where we could only bring ourselves. We didn't really have an option to bring anyone else, but now we can actually bring people and have fun. But it's also not too big where you can't get any air. We love whalers. It's known through and through. It's probably never going to change as our favorite boat. I did sell a 27-foot Dauntless and fell in love with that boat. After selling it, I ended up transporting it from the owner's house in Fort Lauderdale, in the deep depths of Fort Lauderdale, to Brian with International Marine up in Lantana. It was a long ride. I think it took us about 4 or 5 hours because the ocean was crazy rough that day and it's not my boat to destroy. We took the intercoastal and I loved how that boat ran. It's smooth. It's also plenty of room. You can fish on it if you want. It's the perfect size for anything, especially for a small family. I've also sold a 25 outrage and I do think the 27 Dauntless beats it. I also think that we're a little bit biased to the Dauntless models because they are perfect for us. I'm absolutely obsessed with the Dauntless. The Super Sport was such a good first boat because it was small, but that's also beneficial because we could only break it to a certain extent. It was less square footage, so inherently we can't break all of it. Now we have upgraded, but we've also become a little bit safer. Our goal is no longer to completely tear up that boat. Even when the adrenaline happens to get the best of us, this boat handles it really well. The 27 is a really good size for a smaller family. In the future, we will most likely possibly upgrade a little bit, but I don't think that we'll ever get rid of this boat. I think that she will be in our family forever because we have made so many incredible memories on her. It's been such a blessing we ended up with her. She's a perfect make, a perfect model for us, and I absolutely love her. All in all, to answer that very short question with a very long answer, the favorite boat that I've ever been on is definitely one of our blue tops. Same. Now, moving on because that took a little bit long. Sophia, what is your dream yacht or boat to sell under Blue Top Yachting? I would definitely say it's a boat. I have some pretty hefty goals with Blue Top Yachting, but sticking to the whaler theme, my dream boat to sell, which I do have a couple clients looking for right now, would probably be the Boston Whaler Realm. If you know the Realm and if you know Whaler, it is a very different model than the Outrage, the Dauntless, the Montauk. The Realm is basically a large express cruiser, and it combines the best features of a center console with a dual console or a bow rider or a cruiser. It is one boat that has a lot of different titles that it can carry in one 38-foot package. Now, it does come in a 35-foot. My dream would be to sell the 380 realm. I had a regulator 34 SS listed, and if you know that model, the SS stands for starboard seating. You don't have a walk around path on the starboard side. You only can walk to the bow from the port side, and the Realm is very similar in that aspect. You can only walk around from the port side. It's not a center console where you have that full freedom range of movement, given that it's much better for cruising and lake going because you can fit more people comfortably at the bow. So it's mainly comfort at the bow, electronics and technology at the helm, and then you have your engines in the transom. There's not much room in the back. It's mainly a bow rider kind of boat and an express cruiser style of boat. It has a lot of titles that it can hold. It's a very popular model among whaler enthusiasts, but it's also one of the most expensive whaler models on the market. They're rare, they don't make many, there's not many on the market, so you do have to have quite a large budget to be able to accommodate one of those. That's so cool. I honestly don't think I've ever heard of that model, and that could just be me not knowing much about boats. It was interesting to hear that because there are so many different models of boats, even just in Boston Whaler. There's the Outrage, there's the Super Sport, the Dauntless. There's so many different ones, and I have no idea what makes them different, but it was interesting to hear that because it makes sense. We like the Super Sport for different reasons that we like the Dauntless, and it does come down to something as simple as a size, but it also comes down to the different features that the actual boat has in its build. That was interesting to hear about, but I do think that you'll definitely be able to sell that under BTY, seeing your success recently and also seeing the reach that we've been getting with more and more people coming to know BTY through Blue Top Legend. I'm super excited to watch it continue to grow and for you to actually get that yacht sold. That would be great, but you're right. We have been really expanding in our reach with BTY. I've seen the metrics. We don't have a lot of followers on that page yet. We do grow every day. The same with Blue Top Legend. We're growing every day, and that's fine. I'm not in a rush to get anywhere. Arna, if you could take a boat anywhere in this world, where do you think it would be? That's a hard question because we haven't traveled much. We tend to stay within the Florida reach. As simple as this sounds and as close as this sounds, I would definitely still choose a tropical area. It would be either the Keys because it's a little closer, but I know that by boat, it's a pretty rough ride there. So I think that would be interesting to do once in my life because you always hear about people, especially in our friend group, talking about how they just boated down to the Keys. So many people say that, and I've always wanted to do that. And I think it would be interesting because we spend all day out on the water, but it's not always driving. We're doing something at the lake, or we're bridge jumping, or we're running the inlet for a little bit, or we're tubing. It would be a good experience under our belts to go there. If I could choose something that's not as practical, it would totally be to go to Bora Bora or something like that. That's just one of those places that you have to go at one point in your life. But in terms of practicality and something that I really think that we could do, I definitely think the Keys would be a really good opportunity. Also, we could totally run to the Bahamas. I have people inviting me all the time to take their boat to the Bahamas because you should go in a twin engine boat for safety reasons, and we only have one Yamaha. However, we do have a Yamaha, so it's plenty reliable. We can boat down to the Keys if we don't want to drive. Bahamas, we would need to take someone else's boat. Even pinning the throttle on our boat, if we had someone on a bigger boat going next to us, we could probably make it there in a couple hours. make a day trip out of it. That would be so fun. That's another one, the Keys or the Bahamas, because that's another one that a lot of our friends mentioned. That would be so fun to truly spend a day out on the water running the boat. And our boat is pretty good on gas mileage. We would need another engine for safety and probably to stop for fuel quite a few times. It would be a really good experience. It would be so much fun. We would probably just be blasting music the whole time. Then we would go through phases where we would be silent and taking in the glory of being on the water and having that blessing that not everyone gets. The feeling on the water is so incredible. Boating to the Bahamas would be such an incredible moment. We have to make a plan for that. I have a couple people I'm trying to plan a Lake Boca cleanup with and the Bahamas trip with, so I'll keep you updated. So I would be so happy if we could do both of those, but we've talked about the Bahamas trip so many times. Obviously, there's so much that comes into play there because you have to find a place to keep the boat. You have to take into account that we don't have two engines on that boat. We also have a small boat, so we would definitely have to watch how wild the ocean is. We have to watch the weather. We have to make sure we would have enough extra gas, find where we're actually going to stay. In terms of actually doing things in the Bahamas, freediving there would be so cool because we already free dive down in Boca, just in the inlet and intercoastal. And it would be such a cool experience. The Bahamas is known for glassy Gatorade blue water. And we definitely need to see that. Yes, and I think Boca has really clear water to start, especially with me being up in Jacksonville. The water is so black here. And the first time I got here, I was actually so scared to go in it because I was so used to the blue water in Boca. The water down there in the Bahamas is literally clear. That, if you can do it, is something that you have to see once in your life. The Bahamas, it's not just beaches too, it's hundreds of islands that you can explore, each with a different thing to do. You can anchor at coves or swim with the pigs, snorkel the coral reefs. If you fish, you can fish some of the clearest waters in the world. There is a never-ending possibility of things to do. Plus, the boating community that you meet on the water is incredible. And we have met so many people in Boca. Imagine the people that we could meet in the Bahamas, all there for the same reason, to boat the beautiful waters and enjoy life on the water. We would meet so many incredible people there. I absolutely want to snorkel at one of those reefs. I remember we went on a trip to the Keys quite a few years ago and went snorkeling. It was so beautiful. It was an experience that you will never forget. It's not something that you see at the beach. You can't see it there. It's an experience that you need to go somewhere like that to be able to feel and see. It's so incredible because you look down and there's all these different creatures under you. There's sharks, there's fish, there's coral. It's a whole living ecosystem there. And I realize that not everyone would be super intrigued or interested in that. It's something I really want to experience. The Bahamas is a great answer to that, and I'm totally switching it from the Keys to the Bahamas. So if I could take the boat anywhere in the world, it would 100% be the Bahamas. That would be the best way to connect deeply with nature, which is something that we love to do. Now, what is the best piece of advice that you have for someone buying their first boat, especially with your experience that you've gathered under Blue Top Yachting? I've recited this to clients through and through, especially when I'm representing both sides, because it's important for the buyer to know that you don't have a conflict of interest. You genuinely want them to get a great boat. And if the seller hasn't had a survey done, I'm not a surveyor. I can't always disclose things because I don't always know the boat's history or if the boat has water in the hull or the stringers are messed up. That's something that you need a survey to do, especially with compression tests now. Technology is expanding every day. And if you're going to be spending that much money on a boat, get a survey. Buying your first boat is super exciting. I get it. But the best piece of advice that I can give anyone buying a boat is to get a survey. You have to think about a survey on a boat as a home inspection. You're spending so much money. A boat is an investment. If you go to resell it and you didn't get a survey and the buyer gets a survey now and it's all messed up, that's on you. You should have gotten a survey because it protects your resale value and it protects your investment and it protects your safety on the water. I've heard so many stories of people buying boats and them not working. I have heard stories of people buying boats, the engine doesn't turn on after the initial sea trial, or the steering has issues, or there's holes in the hull, or fiberglass cracks, or issues with the wiring. A boat is such a complex piece of machinery. Sometimes people forget that because, especially with the four-stroke, they're pretty easy to operate, but you can get lucky when you take the boat out for the first time on a sea trial. It is an inspector's job, and they are one of the few people with the actual knowledge to be able to look at a boat, go through it, and find those issues, because sometimes you get caught up in the excitement. And this is obviously coming from someone that's not a professional in the industry like Sophia. Being someone that has gone through the process with my dad and my sister of buying the boat, you can get caught up in the excitement. And then you may not be able to actually pause and see the issues in the boat that are right in front of you. There are deeper issues that sometimes you need an actual professional to look at, because those issues can go right under your eyes, and then it will be your responsibility to have them fixed. And you can find a perfectly functioning boat after getting it looked at and end up with that, or you can find a boat that has some issues that are very overlooked by you, and you can end up with that, and they'll be a similar price, but it comes down to your patience with it and trusting your broker to set you up for success, and that you don't have to deal with those problems, because that's the purpose of a broker, and that's the purpose of a surveyor. So you don't have to deal with those issues. Right, it's the purpose of a surveyor, and I always recommend that a client gets both a survey and a sea trial. Even if they can't be present, it's important that the surveyor can take the boat out on a sea trial to see how the boat runs at each RPM level, at wide open throttle, at cruise, at standstill. There's so many things that you discover on a sea trial, and I have learned that every single time that I've had a sea trial and a survey. I have had boats run out of gas, I have had steering fail, I have had engines fail. It becomes a full day thing, but that's why it's so important to get a survey. I have had people walk away from deals, and I support them every step of the way, because if the boat does not pass a survey, you don't pay for something like that, especially if you're spending that much money on it. Even if you were to buy a $1,000 boat, at least get a compression test. The engine is the most valuable asset on the boat. Check that engine before you purchase the boat. Yes, you don't want to be paying for a broken boat. And we've seen it with our friends. I've heard stories from Sophia, I've heard stories from my parents' friends. Boats are inherently broken. There's something wrong with them. If not, it will break, but you don't want to buy a broken boat, because in the future, I promise you, something will break. So that is your issue, but you don't want to start with a broken boat. And that sea trial and survey is the first step in ensuring that you get a functioning boat, so that you don't have to deal with those issues too soon down the road. Even though they might happen, get a functioning boat, get a safe boat, because the surveyor can find stuff that you have no idea even exists. Exactly. Even if the boat looks amazing on the surface, there can be hidden issues beneath the shiny gel coat or the newly polished deck, especially if you go ahead and remove the sea deck. A professional surveyor dives really deep. They check everything from the hull structure and engine condition to the electrical systems on the boat, the electronics, the safety gear. They go through everything, and they're able to spot those red flags that you might miss, which saves you a lot of headache and money, especially down the road. Plus, getting a survey can help you negotiate a better deal or confirm that you're making a smart investment. For most of my surveys, I have had people come back and significantly negotiate the deal down, because they have to get some repairs done on the boat, and I 100% support that. If you put an offer in on the boat for market value, that offer is for market value for a turnkey, ready to go boat. If the surveyor finds issues with that boat, negotiate your deal down. Negotiate it down as much as you need to be able to cover the expenses of repair, because you and I both know boat repair is not cheap, and it's not easy, and it takes a lot of labor, it takes a lot of materials. Make sure that you're fully prepared going into the purchase of any boat with a surveyor. Trust me, a little caution now and then will help you relax and enjoy all your boating adventures later. Ariana, we have 15 more questions left or something, probably more, but we don't have time, so we will have to wrap it up and get into another episode. Understood. I know that this was supposed to be a little bit more of a rapid fire, but it's nice to go in depth sometimes. Obviously, a little less than our other episodes when we fully talk about one question for 30 minutes. I do like the structure of these, and I look forward to doing more of them. If any of you listeners have suggestions on anything that you want us to answer in particular, feel free to shoot us a little message on Instagram. You could DM us, you can email us, whatever works for you, but we would love to answer your questions and be able to connect with you a little bit more. So if there's anything that you want us to talk more about, feel free to shoot us a quick message. Now, getting back on it, that is it for this episode of the Blue Top Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We loved having you on board. Make sure to follow us on social media for more behind the scenes moments and updates from Blue Top Legend, Blue Top Yachting, and Blue Top Performance. And remember, we're all about navigating excellence and anchoring trust. Don't forget to keep that throttle pinned. And as always, don't touch my throttle. We'll see you next time.